Yeah, I know my bad. I ain't mean to miss your call. It was crazy, you know what I mean? In the lab. Alright, I'm at you.
Whatever you needin', I got it. I know what you want, baby, no doubts about it. I know what you know, so we gon' take this night slow. Whatever you needin', I got it. I know what you want, baby, no doubts about it. I know what you know, so we gon' take this night slow. Yeah, I see you independent, straight getting it. Pedicure and eyebrows fleek, like foundation on your cheeks. Natural hair with a blonde streak, you the bomb, see? And ain't no way I can't deny it. To you, I've taken a particular liking. Our conversations be so enlightening, our minds on one accord. So why this feeling we keep on fighting, we feel it in our core. This love lights the night like lightning. It's like
Ladies and gentlemen, you know who it is. It's the big guy with the little show. Yes, indeed, it's the Lord. Nelson, that is, from Live and Loud with the Lord on the CMS Network. And ladies and gentlemen, this young man that we have today, he's family, y'all. He's family. We run in the same circles. We've known each other for a long time. He's a super artistic artist. He's definitely a great musician, a lyricist, a poet. He's been handling this business for a long time. And I don't know, he's just talented and educated. He's one of those guys, man. He's one of the great human beings that I know. And we're just going to go ahead and get into it, man. I can keep on talking, but once again, I like to run my mouth, but we're going to let him run his mouth more than me. So it's a beautiful thing. Ladies and gentlemen, excuse me. We have SARAPH SUNMAN.
Yo.
SARAPH, what's up, baby?
Peace, family, peace. All is well.
Hey, man, I'm honored to have you here, man. I mean that 100%, man. I know I say that for all my guests, but I mean it, man. And just like I said, we run the same circles for a while, man, and we gonna get into your greatness, man. So first question I always like to ask is, where are you from?
I'm from Columbia, South Carolina, brother.
For real?
Yes, sir. Metro.
Metro, the 803, baby. All right. So what's the best thing about being from Columbia?
Columbia's interesting, man. Like, over the years, I've just seen it go through so many changes. I've seen the city come together a lot more. It's a lot more culturally attached to things that go on downtown, but you also have a lot of urban aspects of it as well. So you kind of get the best of both worlds. You get that slight small city vibe where we have things like Soda Market, but then you got a lot of really nice mom and pop establishments where people go and hang out. So Columbia's pretty cool, man. Lots of different people. And for the most part, you got hard heads everywhere, but for the most part, people out here were really friendly.
Yeah, no doubt. The South, man. We definitely are that, man. Columbia definitely has that, indeed. So we're going to talk about some music. So what's your earliest memory of loving music?
Oh, man. Sheesh. I want to say, man, probably like 2 or 3 years old. My dad had a really big vinyl collection when I was young. Yeah. And I would always just go through the records and just put on new tunes and, old school cats like Michael Jackson off the wall, Otis Redding, just Isaac Hayes. And I just remember just being infatuated with music. Now, I don't recall this, but my mom told me that when I was a little baby, I would be in the crib, and when my sister would play Queens, Another One Bites the Dust, I would be up on the little banister trying to do the little bass line to Another One Bites the Dust. So I don't recall that, but my mom said she remembered that when I was a little itty bitty baby, probably like a little under one, maybe,
Yeah.
So yeah, man.
Yeah,
man. That more rocks.
Oh, so you were already ready, man. See, it was in you, man. And just like you said, man, our parents having a vinyl collection and playing that music, man, and it just did something. And I always tell people that, I am not a genre snob. There's no genre snob in here, man. So I have people of every of every genre, man, just doing what they do. And so I just love music. I know you do too, man. Yes. So that's what's up, man. So how's the fam doing? Everybody well?
Everybody's well. We're just living and surviving. Got over this whole COVID situation. Now going into the monkeypox madness, so hopefully that doesn't get crazy. But, we're just out here living, maintaining, doing the best we can do.
100%. So I know, too, and I believe I'm correct on this. You correct me if I'm wrong. I know 2 super talented musicians that went to Keenan. Did they inspire you in any way? And I think you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, absolutely. I know a couple of them, but you know, off the top, obviously John Blackwell.
Yes, sir.
John Blackwell, rest in peace to the good brother. Really good guy. I met him several times. Always was a down-to-earth guy. John, I've gone overseas and I tell people that I know John Blackwell and they will act like I knew Michael Jackson. Right. You know, seriously, they was like, you know John Blackwell? And I was like, yeah, man. He was like awesome, great, very much down-to-earth guy. I remember when Prince back when I was a young boy actually called John one of the Rainbow Children. It had a drawing of John on his album cover, but he was, some people would say that John Blackwell might have been the greatest drummer ever in Earth's history, you know what I mean, doing modern terms. And he was just so awesome. Now, I know of 2 other guys. I got my homie Jeremy Roberson. He's a really dope drummer as well. Shout out to Jeremy. Currently out there touring with Chase Rice doing this thing.
Yes, sir.
He's awesome too. And he came up under John Blackwell as well. But Jeremy's just an awesome guy, great drummer, great musician, does beats and all that. Now I'm gonna tell you one that a lot of people, unless they're really into jazz, wouldn't know about rather, and that's the good brother Ron Westray. Now Ron Westray is just like phenomenal trombonist. In fact, he got discovered by, I want to say, Winston Marsalis. One day when Winston was like playing, he brought his trombone with him into the audience and just pulled the trombone out and started jamming.
Really?
In the session with Winston Marsalis, and Winston Marsalis put him on way back in the 90s, and like he's been all over the world, had several albums. But Keenan, under the good stewardship of the great Mr. Lyles, the band director that was there for so many years, shout out Mr. Lyles.
Yeah.
Put out a ton of awesome musicians. And those are just the ones that are known worldwide. You can go anywhere and find great artists that came out of Keenan from the band that they had.
Those Raiders, man, I know, man. It's something else. I didn't know about the last guy, man. But that's awesome. Bro. You didn't include yourself in that, but it's all beautiful though. But we know that you're here. You know what I'm saying? So it's all so it's love. So after high school, man, so you studied history and social studies at South Carolina State. So what is it about history and social studies that called you, to major in that?
Yeah. Growing up, and I'm real thankful that I had parents that really instilled the value of education and just the value of knowing the past. Yeah. I always was reading books, man. Like by the time I was like in the 4th grade, I could tell you probably any Black history fact you wanted to, because I had read so many books that my dad would bring home from conferences and things at that level. Right. But I think history and social studies is very important because history is basically told from the eyes of the victors. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, a lot of times when we're given history, it's been distorted. Unfortunately, like, I hate the fact when history becomes something that's more of a tool of propaganda and biasness, instead of it actually coming forth and actually giving you an idea of what happened, and then you decide on whether or not it was good or bad. Very much like our news stations today. CNN has a left slant, Fox has a right slant. But I like to get news from spots like DNW out of Germany. They just tell you what's going on, and then they leave it up to you to decide what's happening. But I've always liked history because, as I told you, lots of times history, it's not really shown from the perspective of a holistic view. It's kind of like this side. And I really got that hammered into my head. I went to Paris, France about, this was like back in 2017. And I met this guy from Morocco. He's Moroccan and Swiss. And he asked me, he was like, so where you from? And I said, I'm from America. He's like, nah, so what part of Africa you from? And I was like, bro, like in the States, unless you like, a 2nd or 3rd generation, immigrant, African Americans don't know what part of Africa they're from. Now, right. Obviously we got Ancestry.com and all those other things, but we don't know specifically the tribal affiliations and things of that nature. And it really messed me up because he looked me in my face like, what? And he was like, we were never taught about that. Mm-hmm. And something that you would think that would be common because you grew up in America and learn about it. I found it real ironic that dude had never really learned about the transatlantic slave trade and things of that nature. So I was saying to myself, if that could like not even been discussed or embedded in somebody's head because of where they were geographically dealing with history, then what's really going on? And it's not about saying anybody's bad or good, but it's just having a good understanding about life. And, you know, it just helps you be a better person when you can understand the past. Because as they say, if you don't know your past, you're doing to repeat it.
Hey, man, that is, hey, great word, man. No doubt, man. Now, I love that you went into that, man, because it makes so much sense now. And when you speak of your father, of course, you know who your father is, you know, we had to get all into it. But, man, it seems like you took some of the stuff from him, you know, and your mom, man. It's a great thing, man. It really is. Because, you know, we know
absolutely
what your dad has done in South Carolina, man. So, you know, respect to him most definitely.
Thank you, bro.
Yeah, indeed. So how much fun did you have at State? We know they got one of the best bands in the country, man. So how much fun did you have at State?
Oh, man. Bro, State was like nuts. So when I went there, man. When I went to State, man, that's when I had locks, you know what I mean? And you couldn't tell me I wasn't Jamaican. I was just faking like it was, bro. Once I go out there, all that, you know, hanging out with the Trinidadians and going to Trinity parties. I had a really great time at State. You know what I mean? You know, people have their own ideas about, you know, going to predominantly PWIs versus HBCUs. But what I can say about from my experience, and this is strictly my experience, obviously, because I went to college in Charleston for 2 years before I went to State.
Right.
But when I went to State, man, it was interesting because it seemed like the staff there was rooting for you to make it more. It wasn't like so much you paid to be there, and you know,
like it was just a business,
right? Exactly. It wasn't like it was a sense of like, we want to see you make it, and even when you're not at your best, if you meet us halfway, we can finish the goal. Not so much, oh, you didn't make it and you're out of here. That's your grades. So, you know, State was great, man. I got tons of wild stories, man. I met lots of great people at State from all over the country, all over the Caribbean. People from Africa, from Europe. I just had a really good time, you know. State, shout out to SC State Bulldogs. They had a real big making it and role in what I did in life. Opening up for talent shows, opening up for Eve, you know, Mr. back in the day, just going and they really allowed me to be a student and an artist at the same time. So I really appreciate that time. It was awesome. You never know how good those times are until you know, you look back in hindsight and you get a little older and reflect on the times you had, but I had a ball at State.
Oh, man, South Carolina State had so much history, man, and it's a beautiful thing, man. You spoke about the Elephant League, man. I like that, definitely. So, to me, my perspective of you are a very conscious artist to me. Now, you've done some things here lately. You know, you know, let people know that you it varies with you. You know, you got those kind of skills. So, definitely an intellectual. So did your time at SC State influence your musical style and writing?
I'm gonna be real, man. When I was at State, I was at a stage in my life where I was really getting into spirituality, like on another level. Yeah. So during that time period, my lyrics was basically about just self-discovery and more or less learning about the mysteries of life. Now, I will say this, when I got older, though, it did switch over when I started working for Hot 103.9 and Big DM. Yeah. I did start doing things that were a little more worldly, you know what I mean? But, you know, as an artist, I think that's a cool thing, you know, like, I mean, you know, to me, like the greatest artists were the ones that could just do all types of styles, like Busta Rhymes, you know, and Andre 3000. They could do a ballad, or they could do some stuff off the head. Right. With sciences, or they could just do a party track. And to me, that's what an artist is. They have the ability to more or less do all types of music. They're not really subjugated to like one style, like you spoke about earlier. I've never been just a fan of one genre. You know, I like rock, I like soul, I like funk, I like house music. You know, I like Afrobeat. You know, reggae. Like I mean, for the longest, you know, I used to listen to Putumayo all the time. Putumayo is this collection of albums through this label who have world music. So they would have music that would be like an Arabic music that would be in his Spanish, just all types of music. And although I couldn't understand what was being said in the music, you know, it's just something about the vibration
The
and the
vibe
energy.
of it. Yes,
Yeah,
the sonics
vibe.
of it. Yes, sir.
Absolutely.
Yes, sir, man. Hey, man. Beautiful, man. Listen, I'm with you 100%, man. I feel you. See, look, I wanted you on here because I knew we were going to have a good conversation about just worldly things, but just music. I don't get political and stuff like that. You know, I wanted to be about music and stuff like that, but I knew you were going to bring that to it, man. So, ladies and gentlemen, SARAPH is that guy. He's that guy.
I'm concerned. Thank you, brother.
So, SARAPH SUNMAN, what does that name mean to you?
Okay. Brief little history, man. This is really weird. Like when I was young, like in middle school, I used to call myself the sire, like the king, like sire, you know, yes, sire, you know,
Yeah, right.
Star Wars, like sire, yeah, sire. But I remember, and this, I tell the story and people always think I'm pulling their leg, but this is no lie. I remember being in my 8th grade class, in my homeroom class, and all of a sudden, like, something like, this sounds nuts, but something like whispered to me, man. Like I heard this voice and it was seraphic. So I was like, Sire, it's seraphic. They got a cool ring to it. Now keep in mind, I had no idea what the word seraphic meant at all. I had no idea. So something just said, man, look it up to see if it's actually a word. And lo and behold, I looked it up and it was a word. And then when I looked it up, it meant the ones that glow, the burning ones, the ones that shine bright, seraph. From Hebrew, which is actually derived from the angelic beings they speak about. And I believe Genesis called the seraphim. You got the seraphim and the seraphim. So it was wild. So then, you know, it went from Sire to seraphic until when I got to college, actually, I just took the seraphic art and just did SARAPH SUNMAN. So it's like the burning, shining child of the sun. You know what I mean? So that's really what I try to do with music. I mean, I get it. I know music is entertainment, but music is also a very powerful tool for upliftment and helping people to, you know, get through their days. Like for the longest, I did music because it was therapeutic. I was going through things and just doing the music just helped me out for my day-to-day life. It was almost like, you know, keeping journals, being able to process your feelings and emotions and, you know, making sense of life. Because as you know, sometimes we get into this mode of existentialism or just seeing what we are in the whole realm of the universe. You know what I mean? So SARAPH SUNMAN is basically, you know, of course, growing up, we had all the mans. We had Red Man, Method Man, you know, Jesus was the snowman, you know. So, you know, so I was like, I'm going to be the sun man. I'm going to be here to shine light or to enlighten or to, you know, try to bring forth some type of understanding in a world that oftentimes, you know, thrives off ignorance, unfortunately.
My brother, you glowing right now, man. What you talking about? Right now, this man glowing, man. It's love, man. Most definitely, man. So now here's a real question, though, too. So we're gonna talk about our boy a little bit. So were you a part of Equanimity?
Absolutely. Shout out to Jay Hart, Equanimity.
Hit man hard. So it was you and Jay, and who else was there?
It was Jay, it was myself. Rest in peace to the good brother Crick. He transitioned about maybe 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah, I was trying to remember Crick. Yeah.
Rest in peace to Crick, but it was Crick. And you know, that was like my foundation when actually doing music. I was blessed because like back in the 90s, when you know people didn't have access to studio equipment, Jay, who were neighbors, his dad, shout out to Mr. Hart, rest in peace, actually bought him a keyboard. It wasn't an ASR. It was the ASR minus the sampler. So when I was like in the 9th grade, this is like in the early 90s, mid 90s, basically, Jay was able to crank out beats. He had ADAT machines. We could actually go over there and record and make music. And he wouldn't charge anything. He had so much of a love for the music that if he really enjoyed what you were doing, he was like, man, come on. Like, you know, he cranked out. I mean, I was like in 11th grade with like mixtapes with all original beats back in the 90s, which was, and not even paying for it, which was crazy back then, you know. But Equanimity, yeah, man, that was the foundation. A lot of dope artists came through Equanimity.
Bro, there's no doubt, man. Meeting you guys, listen, coming through there with Jay, having a ball, man, and I loved every moment of it. Just, you know, much love to, you know, once again, his dad and mom and his grandmother. And, you know, what was it, Pet and Prim Parlors, what do you own right now?
They still going strong.
Still going strong. Jay, so talented, man. And quick story, I can remember coming over and they were waiting for me to get there. And Sean was already over there, SK. So of course, SK Blast said, and all all of us, man, we love Sean's music. So we go over there, and I remember SK was like, man, I don't know, man. I'm just not vibing on it. I was just like, what are you talking about? I was like, Jay, a lot of times I'll get over there, Jay would just start playing music. So he'd play music that he liked, right? And nothing wrong with that. It's stuff, but I would always tell him, Jay, just run through them all. I said, you don't never know what's going to hit me because, I love a melody and flow. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that because I got a good question for you after that. But man, I just came in there and I was just like, Sean, man, what are you talking about, man? Hey, the bottom Senate voted. He was just like, I get it now. He said, I see where you are. I was just like, yo, man, you got to feel this, man. As dope as Sean and said and everybody was, man, listen, great vibe going over there and having a ball with Jay. Disrespect maximum to G.A. Hard, man. They do, man. They do, man. Yes, indeed. All right, so tell us how you ended up collaborating with artists in France. How you get over there, man? Because you got a few dope songs and videos out there. So how did that happen?
Oh, wow, man. Basically what happened was I had a good friend of mine. His name is The Dubber. He's a guitar player. He's known, he has a really dope acoustic style of playing music. Shout out to The Dubber, a.k.a. Brother Breath. So I remember when Dubber went over there, and he went over there, he was going to London, and this guy over there by the name of James Stark, who has a group called Urban Groove Collective. It was Urban Groove Unit at the time. Heard some of his music, was like, yo, well, if you get the pass, I can, give you a place to stay and go from there. So Dubber made a very good connect with James. He came back and said that James was basically looking for a hip hop artist for one of the tracks he was doing with the band Urban Groove Unit. So he sent me the beat, and it was actually a remake to Baby Huey's song, Listen to Me. And it was done with All Eyes Band. James ended up sending the track to me from the connection through the Dubber. And he really dug it. He was like, yo, well, we're going to have some shows coming up. Y'all want to come out. So long story short, Mustafa, shout out to Mustafa, Isms of Art. Mustafa, Dubber, myself, we all flew out to France. We did about 3 shows and we tore it down, man. It was crazy because I had never been overseas. Yeah. And that's what started the initial contacts I had. So we went there for that one time, did about 2 or 3 shows. I went back and I was introduced to a good brother named Super Yahweh, who does a lot of hip hop. Shout out Super Yahweh. Yahweh originally from Burkina Faso in Africa. That's what's cool about going to France. You meet people from all over the world, right? So he was digging what I was doing. He was like, yo, let's do a track. So we ended up going to DJ Edam's spot. Shout out DJ Edam. He's Moroccan and Swiss as well. And, the track was just dope, man. So it was I was able to connect with the band scene as well as the underground hip hop scene. I was able to be at these festivals, underground festivals with straight French hip hop artists. And then the next day I'd be in some high end jazz club that they didn't even have hip hop artists in it. Right. And it was interesting because I remember this one guy when I did a show, and he came up to me after the show. He's an older gentleman. He said, I'm really not into the style of music. He said, but I really, really enjoyed what you did tonight. Yeah. So it was cool just to see how, it's just like certain foods. People won't try certain foods because it just looks yucky. Right. But it's just cool that, you are able to, allow people to experience something they normally wouldn't experience, and for them to find some type of joy, happiness, or pleasure within it. So, I have a ball, man. I go there in them jazz clubs and it's like a mix of the singing. And then I come in and do my bars on it. And they be like, it's it's crazy, man. You know what I mean? Paris is dope, man.
Yeah, they're not. See, and just culturally, getting that vibe of something else, man, that you never knew that you like, man. But these are the times that you got to try things. And music is universal, man. And if people just open their minds a little bit, they would see so much more because there's so much out there, man. So, hey, absolutely, great words. So you, like me, have had significant success in Europe. So what is it about Europeans' love for music that differs from the U.S.?
From what I've gathered, they don't really get caught up in what's trending or what's being fed to them through the radio.
Right.
What they like is what they're like. I mean, I remember like hearing about Curtis Blow doing a show over there that sold out when he was like 61.
They can still do it.
Still rocking and killing it. And also they have an appreciation for hip hop, which is different. Like, you know, in the States, I'm considered like a dinosaur to the newer generation. You know what I mean? Like everything now, I'm not dissing the younger stuff because I love what they're doing, but you know, everything is like extremely auto-tuned and everything is gangs and killing and ultra, you know, hypersexual. And it is what it is. Right. But over there, they still have an appreciation for lyrics, man. They don't mind if it's Tribe Called Quest sounding beat, or you know, they still like stuff like that. You know, like, and I'm talking about people that are like in my age demographic. I'm talking about people that are like in their 20s and teens. They have an appreciation just for music. Like, you know, it's kind of like with us. You know, if you like something, you like it. It doesn't matter how old it is. And unfortunately, in America, you know, with TikTok and all these other social media devices, it's kind of about like what's hot at the moment. Whereas over there, they remind me kind of like how I approach music. You know, what I like is what I like. You know, it doesn't matter if it's, you know, from the 70s or the 40s or the 30s or, you know, if it's jamming, it's jamming. And so, they just have a really unique perspective when it comes to just, not even unique. They like what they like. And it's not about what's popular or trending. But if it's funky, they rock with it.
That's real, man. I 100, listen, you were so on point with that. I feel the same way. And that's what I saw, man. I just looked around. I was just like, and they got respect and love, man. And they really get into the music, man. They really enjoy it, man. So, of course, shout out to all music lovers. But, you know, you're the special, man. So, I want to get a little serious right now. This is real. I know I like to laugh a lot and clown a little bit. So, for a moment there, man, you disappeared on me, man. I was just like, I hadn't seen you. Or you went out for a minute. And then you let me know something. So can we talk about the accident you were in, man?
Oh, man, absolutely.
And how it changed your outlook on life and the approach to music, possibly.
Yeah, man. 2018 in June, driving too fast while it was raining, faulty brakes, didn't have on my seatbelt. Always wear your seatbelt. And hit the brakes. They jammed up on me. I ended up hydroplaning and hitting this tree. Wow. And I broke my neck. I popped my hip out of my body. And I rocked my dome like in a major way. Like at one point, they didn't know whether I was gonna make it or not. Because I spoke to the doctor and he was just like, you know, I don't know what you believe in, but it works. He says, because people who break their neck, like how you broke your neck, he said they either die on the scene or they're like quadriplegic with a breathing tube the rest of their life, which is almost like death in itself. You know what I mean? Yeah. So that happened, and it took me out for a while, man. I mean, I had, they had to put screws in my neck to fuse my vertebrae and do some reconstructive surgery on my hip. And bro, I know the fentanyl thing is killing a lot of people, but I know for a fact that stuff is strong because they used fentanyl on me when I was in the hospital. Wow. And for me to have the type of invasive surgery that they put on me to my bones and stuff, I didn't feel anything at all. Now, I felt a little whacked out for about a year and a half, you know, because just one little bit of that makes you different. But that ended up happening. That happened in June. And I had this aspect, or rather this feeling that, you know, I can't let an accident stop me. Like, I've been in another major car accident about 10 years earlier where I flipped a van on the highway. And, you know, I just had this idea more or less that, you know, no matter what, you got to just keep going. So I got in an accident in June. I was able to actually get cleared to go back to work as a school teacher in August, which is crazy, 2 months. Like the wreck I was in, the way I broke my neck, I had several people tell me straight up. They were like, man, you could have been out all the way to like spring break of next year. But I just didn't want to sit in the house. I didn't want to be in the bed. You know, I just felt like I had to keep living. And man, through the grace of that, which is greater, man, I just, you know, powered up. Actually, that happened in June. In October, I was back over in Paris doing shows and recording videos. Hurt, you know what I mean? Walk with a limp, but you still try to keep it happening and moving, bro.
Man, hey, listen, man. You know, the love is with you, man. God is with you, man, most definitely. Because when you told me that, I was just like, what? Because I had heard of, Jay hadn't said anything about it or anything like that. And mind you, it's your business and all that like that. But when I was just like, yo, Smack, man, what you was like, yo, man, you know I've been in an accident. I was just like, what?
Yeah.
You went to tell me, and then you just went, you went further in the details right there, man, and just like, hey, you're still here, man. Blessings, man, and that's what it is, man. Most definitely, man. So let me ask you this.
Yeah.
I used to come over when Jay Hart had you and Jay was over at the apartment, man, and I used to come in there and we used to work on some music and stuff. So, what do you remember about the song "So High"?
Oh man, bro.
Yo, man, you guys are some wild dudes. Y'all are wild, man, but I'm trying to tell you, man, it's crazy to me. But go ahead, I'm sorry, man. Go ahead.
I mean, the title says it all. Title says it all, man. You know, that was a wild time, man. We were just free artists back then, you know. It wasn't about a record deal, you know. It was just about us just doing things that you know, that we felt we were truly artists. And unfortunately, I don't think you really see that for the most part anymore, except for like some of the underground artists.
Yeah.
For the most part, everybody's trying to, you know, be the next, you know, big act on the radio or things of that nature. You don't really see people doing it from the heart anymore. They're more or less following trends and trying to start their own lanes. But man, So High and all those things back then, bro, we were just, man, like just being ourselves, man, just going off the top of the head, and, literally, and just expressing ourselves through music. And I think that's important because, as I said earlier, I don't find that much anymore. Like, I don't really listen to radio because music, and I'm not knocking it, like I said once again, but music used to I'm not going to say music, but the music now doesn't really move me. And I saw something interesting. I read a report that said that the artists on YouTube who are getting streamed like way more than anybody else are the ones that are like, you know, going back to the 90s, 70s, and 80s. And like, you don't find a lot of the new music get streamed that heavy in comparison to like some of the older music.
Old stuff,
yeah, you know, because you still had that feeling, man. Like, you know, I can pull in Stylistic, It's Me Again, you know, some Fela Kuti, or, you know, even some of the like electronic disco stuff like Shannon, you know,
let the music play,
it's a vibe to that stuff, man. Like, and I don't really get that, but I will say this, man. Like, when we were going through that equanimity phase, it was all about, you know, the vibe and just being artists and not trying to sound like anybody else.
Well, all I know is that I come over there and here it is. That song was one of the 15 that I freestyled with Jay. You know, I just came in there and then you said, you do know that when we are doing what we do, we play this song. Man, you made me laugh so hard, but it just, we're so high. You know, it's just funny to me. But you saying that was just like, I was just like, man, that's but it's how things can touch people. And it was just cool to me, man.
Bro, that was on repeat for every session. It was crazy. Straight up.
So, what are your aspirations for music in the near future, bro?
All right. So I'm at an interesting point in life. Before COVID hit, I was going to Paris about 3 times a year and doing shows. COVID hit for those 2 years, substantially slowed a lot of things down for artists in general because of the closing of venues. I actually have 3 albums, man, that are done, artwork done. I'm gonna put those out. I have my own album, SARAPH SUNMAN, I Love You. That's finished. I got a lot of dope artists on it, contributed to it from France. I also have an album with a good sister named Venetia. She goes by the name of Venetia Running Wolf. And hey, and this is what's crazy. Venetia actually has a song, but the house DJ from Chicago named Trent, I think it's Trent Darby. I think it's Trent Darby. He just had an album to come out with Corey Ben and all that. And she has a song with him, which is dope, called Flowers, which is dope. And then I have another project that's been complete sometime by the name of Black Salt. And it's me and a good brother, Promise. He's a big R&B act in the Southeast. And it's like a soul hip hop album. So I got those 2 albums. They've been done for some time, but the thing about it, as you know, when you do music, you're not trying to sound like what's going on currently, so your music is never dated.
Right.
So, it's still relevant, it's still dope. I'm gonna put that out. At this point, with me, it's not about being a worldwide icon. As I've gotten older, my whole perspective of what I want to do as an artist has changed. When I was a young boy, it was about, um, doing big shows in big cities and Madison Square Garden and having all the ladies and best cars. Now that I'm older and have 3 sons, I just want to make sure I can leave a legacy and something for them to have when I'm no longer here. So music to me is more or less where I'm going with it. It's to, I don't want to say build a legacy, even though I just said that, but to leave something for my children, because I've invested a lot into it. I haven't received anything close to what I put into doing music, but I will say the experiences are priceless that I've had from it. So right now, more or less, like I was saying earlier, I'm still an artist. It's still therapeutic. My goals have changed with what I'm trying to do with it, but I'm content with traveling overseas and doing shows the way I'm doing it. I speak to a lot of artists, even artists that have been successful artists, like on Def Jam, and they'll tell me stuff like they never even left out the country, and I don't toot my horn or anything, but I don't know of any other artists, hip hop wise from South Carolina that basically on their own have traveled, I've been to Paris, like I say, 10 times, Switzerland twice for shows, Britain like 2-3 times. One time out there with Big Bub. Shout out Big Bub. You know what I mean? I did a show with Big Bub in London. It was crazy. You know what I mean? Out there with him, Glenn Jones, and some other folks. And that was like awesome. I was Bub's hype man, which is like unforgettable. He's like, everybody knows R&B legend, wrote Mary J. Blige's In My Lifetime album, and a lot of stuff was with the group today with Teddy Riley.
Sir.
Yeah, it's just a blessing, man. But, to answer your question, at this point, music just keeps me alive, man. It's just something I do I'm not going to say it's a hobby because I still know there's money to be made, but it's just it's so intricate and it's so oversaturated. But the thing about it is if you have a certain type of music that is able to make people feel a certain type of way, there'll always be an avenue for you. Like, I'm not trying to be all on the radio and, doing shows with like the younger artists. Like I don't do that. I don't do the rap. I don't do the auto-tune. I'm a hip hop artist, and it's an entirely different circuit for that right now, especially in America. Now, in Europe, it's a lot different, as I told you. But even if you go to major cities like Atlanta or New York or Denver, especially out west, they still have these scenes for artists that still do hip hop, which is dope.
No doubt. Yo, man. So let me ask you this question, man. So you talked about Big Bub, right?
Yeah.
Today, man. So I saw the video with you. So talk about that London show again, man. So what was up with the London show?
What's happening in the world? SARAPH SUNMAN and the ever glorious, legendary Big Bub.
Peace.
We're out here in London. What's going on with him, King?
Tonight I'm in London. My boy came from Paris. Showtime tonight with your boy Big Bub in London. It's going down.
It's going down in a measure weight, you know what
Word.
I mean? From Jersey to the South Cackalack, we doing this worldwide, winning, never giving up. Shout out.
Boom.
Yeah, shout out to Bub, man. I've known Bub for about roughly 14 years, and he's really like extended his hand out to help me out with a lot of stuff. I remember when Bub he was recording with Snoop Dogg out in LA. He was like, yo, SARAPH, come on out here. You good, I'll put you down with Stupid Corrupt and them. And I'm like, yeah. I was just moved back to Columbia, and I saw how Bud was like in the studio with Snoop and going in. I was like, dang, I should have went. So when he told me he was going to be in London, and it just so happened to be at the same time I had some shows booked in France. Right. So I ended up flying to France, and my homie ended up helping me to book a train with I think it's the Eurostar, the bullet train, go like 20, 40 something miles an hour. Like you feel the G-force in that joint when it's riding so fast. So I got to Paris. I hung out with people in Paris for a while, and then I ended up catching the train to London. Got to London and ended up linking up with Bub. And Bub had this show with some African cats over there, right by Wembley Stadium. Man, they had this show. They were like really big into bringing like 80s R&B acts and people of that nature. So it was Glenn Jones, really big, phenomenal artist in Silk, Big Bub, as well as these 2 other artists that were like underground charting artists that was in the States, but they still were doing their thing. And they had a following in the UK, which is dope because I tell a lot of artists, you don't have to be on the radio to be successful. There's so many artists that are underground that get booked overseas that you've never heard of.
Right.
And are actually charting overseas on their Billboard type charts that they have that you've never heard of over here. So I did the show with Bub, and it was just awesome, man. You know, he got up there, did his thing. He did the song he got with today, him, me,
Right.
dude.
Yeah.
Like, yo, Saraph, come on the stage. So I'm up there, I'm hype manning them. You know, all the people in London is going nuts. And it's wild because in London, people really don't think about it, but they have like a massive like African immigrant and Caribbean. So it's just a bunch of fly African people. Shout out to Big Bub. That's my big bro. If I ever call him and need some words, some advice, he always opens himself to give me some of that good knowledge. Bub, a lot of people don't, well, people know, but he was actually the vice president of Motown Records when he was like in his late 20s. So he knows everybody. I mean, everybody. Teddy Riley. I say today was the first group that Teddy Riley actually put out. Yeah. So Busta Rhymes, he knows everybody in the industry, but he's just so down to earth, man. You know, you have no idea that he is who he is if you just walk into him and know who he knew, because he's a very humble, great spirit, great person, man. Shout out to Big Bub.
Indeed. Well, look, man, we're going to go ahead and end on that great note and let the people know, man, how they can get in touch with you, man, how they can scream at you and check you out if they need to.
No doubt.
They want to. Yeah.
Yes, please. If you're trying to contact me, you can hit me up on my email. It's saraphsunman@gmail.com. SARAPHSUNMAN@gmail.com. So my artist name is SARAPHSUNMAN@gmail.com. My webpage is actually back under construction. All right. So if you got Facebook, you can find me on Facebook under the same name, SARAPH SUNMAN, SARAPHSUNMAN. Hit the page, give me a like, message me. I'm very expedient with my messages. You just let me know. And you know, if you want to work or do something, I'd be more than willing and happy to do so.
Yes, indeed. Well, ladies and gentlemen, man, this has been a true pleasure for me having one of my brothers on here. He's really that dope guy, and as you can hear and see, he's not on that regular level. He's on another level. You know, I only deal with top shelf people anyway. You know what I'm saying? That ain't my arrogance. It's just the truth, man. I only deal with great individuals, man. And but everything is love, man. So I really appreciate you, man. Thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule to hang out with me a little bit, my brother. Really
Thank you, brother. I really appreciate the opportunity.
Yes, indeed. So, ladies and gentlemen, once again, you know who it is. It is the Lord. Nelson, that is, from Live and Loud with the Lord on the CMS Network, man. And we have just had SARAPH SUNMAN. Yeah. Thank you, bro. I really appreciate you, man.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate you.
All right.
My grandmother knew they were stomping on the wooden floor. The way I grew up, I was surrounded and protected by love. Today these things sound foreign that I'm thinking of. If you don't believe I've been redeemed, think of all my ancestors that struggled and died for me. You gotta know that you got shown enough real power. So rise up, stand up, and take back what's ours. You got the power. I got a soul in my bones, and I know everybody knows it's flowing from the top of my head to the sole of my feet. I got real soul power, and I'm living this every hour. I am steady on the grind, don't hinder me. No.
Yeah, I got so much power in my soul. Deep down inside of my soul, what a sight to behold. Remembered all my parts, now I'm whole. Like Bruce Leroy against shown off when he got the golden glow. Feeling like James minus the permed out foe. Croon and Papa got a brand new bag at 64. Yeah, feeling like Otis singing I can't get no satisfaction with soul. This ain't the Rolling Stones, this would never be televised. She's soul power, got them scared wanting to come. compromise. There are for this new age sound. Yes, some of that stuff hot, but it don't get down. Pass the flask and take a shot at the crown. The first will be last, so we running this town. Like we're fat in the white head, ain't no stopping us now. Before Black Lives Matter, I've been black and proud. So power like Barack giving Michelle that pound, that's what it is.